I don't give a fuck what message resonates. I just know that they're both printing money, and therefore anything that was working today, whether it's big cap tech or crypto, is going to work after the election. Now, maybe there's going to be some volatility if you have some sort of
민주당과 공화당 두 정당 모두 머니 프린팅을 하고 있기 때문에 누가 당선이 되던 간에 대형 기술주부터 암호화폐까지 대선 이후에도 의미 있는 효과가 있을 것이고 변동성이 있을 수 있다고 주장하고 있는 인물은 비트맥스의 창업자 아서 헤이즈입니다. 최근 지지부진한 시장 흐름 속에서 많은 투자자들의 하반기 방향성에 대한 기대감과 관심이 매우 뜨거운 상황인데요. 시장에 대한 전망 적중률과 인사이트가 매우 뛰어난 아서 헤이즈가 생각하는 미국 대선이 미칠 크립토 시장 영향과 하반기 시장의 전반적인 방향성에 대한 그의 디테일한 인사이트에 대해서 함께 들어보도록 하겠습니다.
Wow, well, what an all-star panel. Thank you so much for joining today. Let's bring it back now into a more sensible adult conversation. Everyone watching wants to know your plays. They're following you guys. Let's take a look at the US elections because you guys are macro gurus as well. How are you expecting the US elections to impact the markets, and what should we be doing in the build-up to keep an eye out, protect ourselves, and also, make the most of if we do see a market tumble on the way?
I would say they're the same candidate. They're old idiots, both of them, and both of their parties that are behind them, they're the front people, and so they're going to stand behind them all the way because of all the goodies that flow with whoever's in charge, right? Whether it's Democrats or Republicans. And if you look at any sort of estimation by bipartisan outlets on the state of the deficit, it's not like it's one person's going to cut spending and run a balanced budget or surplus and the other is not. They're both saying, elect me and I'll give you free shit paid for by the other people that lost. That's the message. And so which one of those messages resonates better? I don't know. I don't give a fuck what message resonates. I just know that they're both printing money, and therefore anything that was working today, whether it's big cap tech or crypto, is going to work after the election. Now, maybe there's going to be some volatility if you have some sort of civil war type scenarios or a dust up between either side, depending on what happens with sort of the Trump sentencing, if he's in jail, he's not in jail, whatever, right? But at the end of the day, I think that's not really going to be meaningful at the end of the day, and one of them will be elected. And even if it's a Republican president, Democrat, House and Senate, or vice versa, think about the things that both parties vote on together every single time. Weapons, right? Ukraine, Iran, Israel, every time there's ever an ask for we need more money to give to the American defense companies to bomb more people, everybody lines up and says, yes, please more. And so if you look at the breakdown of the biggest expenditures of the US government, apart from healthcare interest expense, it's veterans payments and defense. So it's war. The American economy is geared to kill people, and both political parties are happy to kill people as long as their stocks go up. And so again, it's the same thing, same party. Depend which clown do you like better. So I don't really care. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, and part of that is, if there's any volatility, maybe one of those two drops out. There's violence is obviously likely to happen at some point in this, just because of how divided the society is. But when you narrow everything down, the outcome for everything is printing money. So the worse anything happens in the US, the more likely they are to print money. So election years tend to be very, very positive, and the year after for risk assets, just because everybody's buying votes and then kind of proving themselves afterwards and mopping up the pieces and paying that interest on the debt. So there's that military side. You've then got all the retirees with the baby boomers with all the votes. Well, they want their healthcare. And then the third part of the equation is somebody needs to pay the interest on the debt. And the only way of doing this is the magic money printer.
I also saw that the Heritage Foundation backing is saying they're looking to erode the Fed's independence if they do come into power. No,
they're already not independent now. It's a whole.
They're the same thing.
Oh my God, the Fed is independent. Jerome Powell is impotent. He can't, even if he believes he's like the most powerful person in the world. Janet Yellen can do whatever the fuck she wants. And yeah, Powell hasn't raised or cut rates, but Yellen can drain the Treasury general account by $800 billion with the stroke of a pen. You know, she can cut a bank off of SWIFT if she wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. Yeah, she's the most powerful person in the world, and her number one job is to get Joe Biden reelected. And so whatever, you know, Powell and all the governors can write all these fancy fucking papers over, you know, Mariner Eccles building in New York, but the Treasury Department runs the show, and they always have run the show. And if you read some of the papers, that there's a recent paper by the Atlanta Fed on central bank FX swaps. And essentially the paper was arguing that the Fed has always backed up international dollar borrowers ever since it was created in 1913. And it goes stepwise through every single incident where the Fed essentially printed money and handed it out to a foreign institution or a foreign branch of a bank. And the conclusion of the article was, we've been doing this for 100 fucking years, so let's do it some more if we need to. There is no independent Fed. And that was written, I think, last month by the Atlanta Fed. Great paper. Highly recommend reading it if you have time.
You follow Arthur's argument, you can see there's a shortage of dollars around the world, right? We lost US banks. We lost a giant Swiss bank. We're losing dollar yen, right? That's a shortage of dollars. And we've got Yellen going to China twice, right? She's there because her other job outside of getting Joe elected is to sell bonds. She's the Mike Milken selling junk bonds, going to China doing the roadshow. China's like, yeah, we'd love to buy your bonds, but we don't have any dollars. So you give us dollars and we'll buy bonds. So they have to figure out how that can be done. Now, nobody really wants to give China direct swap lines. They probably do it through Japanese bond intervention, you know, by currency intervention. Either way, the G20's coming up or G7's coming up. There'll be some magical allowance for everybody to have enough dollars for the system to move forward and everything to happen. So there has been no independence since 2008. I think I don't think there's much independence between central banks either. I think the BOJ kind of taught everybody the trick. Everybody's followed suit. They've all got the same problems, which is the debt and the aging populations, and everybody plays the same card. And there's, you know, the BOJ and the MOF, that they stopped being independent in the 90s, even though on paper they are. And so it is all driven by the Treasury and required to refinance this debt since 2008.